Miss Cartland, I would have to say straight away that we're all in admiration of this tremendous energy you have at 82 and indeed your youthfulness. Is it all down to the vitamins?
All due to the vitamins. What else?
How many vitamins do you take a day?
Well, that's a sort of trick question, really, because it gets less, you wouldn't believe, as you get older. It's a simple reason we now have optimum doses, which after all we only used to have in America. And so instead of having to take 10 tablets a day to have enough vitamin E, I can take one, you see, so I get my 1,000 milligrams in one capsule. So it alters.
So what kind of vitamins do you take every day?
An awful lot, darling, including the ones I've sent you.
The brain pills.
The brain pill and SOD, which is making us all young. You've tried yours yet?
Well, I've tried a few of them. I haven't had the nerve to go on too long.
Look, you must take it two a day, and you're 20 years younger. They've done it with 1,000 women in America, and every woman looked 20 years younger. It's guaranteed by all the top doctors. I must say I feel very well on it.
I think we could dish it out, actually, this evening, don't you? We could dish it out amongst the audience this evening.
Well, it's cheap, it's wonderful, and I found a young man in America who looked absolutely marvellous. And he really looked very, very, very young. So he took me into lunch, and I said, what do you do? Always a good question, you know. And he said, well, I've just finished my 4th book on the White House, of which I'm an expert, and I've got a play coming on in the West End. And so I said, well, you look very young to do all that. And he said, how old do you think I am? So I thought, I don't suppose he writes as quickly as I do. So I said, well, 35. He was 55, and my son was 45. Was absolutely livid because he looked so wonderful. So I said, why do you look so wonderful? He said, I've taken SOD for 3 years. And darling, he looks wonderful. I made him stand up at the conference and show him to everybody, and I sold out the whole stuff in the whole of New York. People said, what's happening? Everybody's coming in and asking for it.
You've just finished a book which is due out in April called Growing Old, Getting Younger. Is that the title?
That's one.
And you've collected a lot of tips from celebrities all over the world. Any that you could pass on to us this evening?
Yes, well, it's very interesting. Of course, Indira Gandhi was a great friend of mine, as you know. She does yoga. And she does breathing, but she's got a tremendous spiritual power behind her, because, of course, India has. That's why I love India so much. I'm livid with you tonight, because I ought to be watching The Far-Flung Pavilions, you see. I'm missing the last bit by coming here. It's being zero-taped for me, whatever it is. And she was marvellous. And then, of course, the funniest one was Zaza Gabor, who was absolutely marvellous at her age. And she is a fencing champion, apart from anything else. She plays polo. She keeps young like that. And Douglas Fairbanks Jr. said, I still look in the glass and think of myself as 30. Isn't that lovely? Because he's a good, well, 77. He said, I still think of myself as 70. I think the answer is, you feel as young as you feel. Do you know what I mean? You look as young as you feel. That's the real answer.
I also was reading a lot about you in the papers this week. You were more or less attacking the British Mail, saying that he's a rather sloppy eater and a sloppy lover at that.
Well, this is my new cookery book, which is coming out, which is called The Romance of Food. And I've got all these wonderful recipes from France, because I motor through France eating a 3-star, and I still don't get very fat on it, because everything in France now is little tiny nouveau cuisine. Now they're called picture cookery. It's so much easier. And you have everything on a plate, and you have 7 courses, and you're hungry at the end, because they're beautiful. And therefore, deliciousness starts in the eyes, and you feel wonderful. So I've done a book like that, and I had most terrible problems doing it, because all my people, including my cook, who I was given by Hamlin, who cooks for the Queen Mother and the Queen at different times, had never seen nouveau cuisine, so they didn't understand what I was talking about. And I had to, in the end, have in my own kitchen, get up early in the morning, not my favourite time, and go down and arrange the things on the dish myself, and said, that's how it ought to look, and then we got it photographed. It's real hard work, but it's going to be a very exciting book, I think.
So what do you think the British men and the British women are doing incorrectly, then, in terms of
they're
food?
not eating the right things. Look, all this pornography is all due to bad health. If you want to read dirty books, look at filthy films, and as I said once, swing off the chandelier, I can assure you that your eating is wrong, and your feeding. Your eating is wrong, and you're not healthy. There's something wrong with you. You don't want all that. Ordinary healthy people make love without all that palaver.
I love Diana Dore's comment this week, though. She said that if a guy is thinking of food, the romance is gone anyway.
Oh, no, I don't agree with Diana. I don't agree with Diana at all. Because the whole point is that food is terrifically helpful. Of course it is. Look, if you have a prize racehorse, if you have a prize cow, a prize bull, what you do, you feed it right. but nobody bothers about the man. And the World Health, not Barbara Cartland, the World Health says that a man to be a good lover needs 80 grams of protein a day. Now, the average helping of roast beef is 20, so the girls have got to do an awful lot of cooking, haven't they? They really have to get on with it, you know.
Well, let's leave the food and the vitamins to one side, because when it comes to your books, I mean, at my last count, it was something like 400 books to your credit, which is absolutely marvellous. Now, the thing is, how do you just set about writing, in some years, 23 books in 1 year, which is incredible?
Well, it was 25 last year, and I've rather slipped up this year due to the cookery book, which has really rather tripped me up. I've only done 21. So, no, 22.
Only 22?
Only 22, you see. So I've been rather done down. But the point is, well, I'm very organised. I'm like you, dear. You know you're very organised. You cannot run a very busy life unless you're organised. Every day when I'm at home, however I feel, whatever's happening, I go into the library after lunch and I dictate 6,000 to 7,000 words, which is a chapter. So it really only takes me 7 days to dictate a book. Obviously, I don't do 7 days all at once, because I do other things as well. But it really is organisation. That's the real answer.
But it's an incredible output by anybody's standards. I mean, it is incredible.
world
Even to think
record.
up plots for 23 or 25 books a year.
Well, 2 of them are usually prestige books, like cookery books or something like that, which is rather amused me, which is a break between the love. But they don't sell so well. Everybody from here, in every country in the world except China, I'm in now, not in China, just gone into Japan, all they want is what the Duke said in bed. They're not interested in anything else.
On the other hand, I mean, something like 300 of your books are all about romance, and they all tend to be the happy ever after stuff. And a lot of people, you see, would say that that's pretty naive in this day and age.
You know, it isn't. You see, there are millions and millions of people who are not news. Only bad news is news. Who really are happy, who have the most wonderful lives. I had 27 years of perfect happiness with my husband. Therefore, there's no history on it. I'm just doing my biography, and those chapters really doesn't very much to say, except we are very happy, you see. And therefore, people are happy, but what they miss, what I think is wrong with the world, is they've got so much ugliness. And women, particularly, want beauty and love. Everybody, if they're truthful, wants beauty and love. And what's what I give them? I give them beauty and love. All right, it's fairy stories, but it wakes their imagination. It makes them feel that they're living as a fairy princess in a fairy world. And what's wrong with that?
On the other hand, there is a bit of contradiction between this rather vulnerable girl you write about and the very, very successful businesswoman that Barbara Cartland is.
I'm not a businesswoman. That's entirely done by my sons. I never know what I've made, and I always put notes in the wrong place.
You know the point I'm making, though? I mean, you've already admitted that you're well organised, you're disciplined,
I'm
you
disciplined.
write...
That's a different thing altogether. But I don't have anything to do with money, because I don't understand it. You know, really, it sounds so shaming. When I go into a shop, because I very seldom shop, because I'm so busy, I never do, I hand them my purse and say, because I only understand the old money, I say, take half a crown, and they have to work it out. I really do. They laugh. You know, the thing is, nobody cheats me. They just think I'm mad, so they just don't cheat me.
Seeing you write so much about romance, did you have a very romantic life yourself all the way through?
All the way through. I had my first proposal of marriage 9 days after I left school. And may I say, in my day, you know, you were at school, you didn't do anything else. Everybody said, when you grow up, when you come out, then you can go to the races, then you can go to the theatre, then you can do this. And of course the war came, so everything was sort of upset. And 9 days after I left school, I had my first proposal. I had 49 proposals before I got married the first time.
49?
Yes, and then I chose wrong. You wouldn't believe what you...
Were you very strict with your young men, though, in terms of morals?
But don't you see, it's such a different world. Nobody understands. In the 20s, no young man ever said, will you come to bed? Now these wretched girls go out and they take them to the cinema and say, will you, won't you? And I shan't take you out again. Well, really, I mean, they cheap to pay that for the cinema, isn't it? You know? And in my day, everybody thought you were wonderful, glorious, and treated you like dress in China.
So what did you used to say to your young men, then, that may have led up to proposals? Was it a question that you played hard to get?
I think I was young and bouncy, and I enjoyed life a lot and full of vitality. And everybody wanted to dance, and I danced very well. And we danced at breakfast, and we danced all night, and it was all terribly gay and terrible fun, you know. And therefore, they wanted to settle down. They'd had a terrible war, you know, and they wanted to settle down and have a home of their own and be happy and not have to go through all the miseries they'd been through. So everybody wanted to marry you. It's quite a different thing today. You don't get anybody up the aisle. I mean, I had great difficulty not going up the aisle. you know. But in those days, everybody said, darling, will you marry me? And when you said you wouldn't, they tried to shoot themselves. It was all very dramatic.
Actually, when you were just starting out on your writing career, you were doing a gossip column at that stage. Didn't Lord Beaverbrook and a lot of very influential people help you at that stage?
And I was so lucky because I said I'd write a novel, and everybody roared with laughter and said, because I was in the country, I had nothing to do, so I said, write a novel. And they said, you'll never finish it because you're dancing all night. And so then a friend of mine who just come on the Express, which Lord Beaverbrook, just think of it now, just bought it in Fleet Street for £17,000. Think of what the Express is worth today. And they said he'd lose his money in Fleet Street. And so he said to me, look, Barbara, this is a friend of mine, I've become the gossip editor. If you ring me up in the morning and give me a paragraph of what you were doing last night, I'll give you 5 shillings. I thought, I'm rich. I was very hard up at the time because my father being killed in the war, my mother had very little money and 2 sons to educate. And so I was delighted to have 5 shillings. Then I wrote 1 or 2 articles for the Express. Then Lord Beaverbrook sent for me. And he said to me, I like the way you write. And he then said, I'll show you how to write as a journalist. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I write like a journalist now. So Arthur Branch, you know, our darling historian, who's now 85, said the other day, you may not like what Barbara writes, but I call her a very good writer, because there's never a superfluous word. Now, that is journalism, because you haven't got time for superfluous words. So I have to keep to the plot, because that is how it is. And I end the chapter with a bang, and you have to go on to the ending again, journalism. It's like an article.
It's been a wonderfully successful career. We're delighted that you came and joined us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Barbara Cartland.